Things are popping on the early line, and we always state this. We always state this here. If there is breaking news, we will deliver it first. And that's what we're going to do, Donnie Rightside, Davis Maddock, because we do have breaking news. Let me set the table for this. Last night, we got a tweet out by Sham Sharani, and it said, Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler is feared to have an MCL injury in his knee. Sources tell at The Athletic, at Stadium, the injury could sideline Butler for a period of time, MRI to come. So we were waiting this morning and brought you that information. Boy, when is this MRI going to come back? And here we go. 8 minutes ago, Sham Sharani retweets out, the expectation is Miami's Jimmy Butler will be out multiple weeks. Butler remarkably played the final three quarters versus the 76ers last night and is what now to feared to be an MCL injury. Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat looks like, at least for this game we know coming up, he's not going to play in that playing game. But let's talk about big picture here, what the Heat might have been able to do with Jimmy Butler and now looking to be without Jimmy Butler, Davis. Tough scene here for the Miami Heat.
It is a tough scene for the Miami Heat. I guess I literally have to eat my words from about 27 minutes ago where I was like, I don't know, Jimmy Butler's playing. You know, I got to be honest. Jimmy Butler not playing with an MCL injury, that it seems crazy to me. Like, I just sort of like, I don't know, dude's indestructible. It's the Miami Heat in the playoffs. And it really, my biggest reaction to the story, Donnie, is basically like a police escort for the Boston Celtics into the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, who are they going to play, right? Like, they might get to play a Pacers team. Like, I don't know. It just really is all opening up for the Boston Celtics. Not that the Boston Celtics really need any help getting to the NBA Finals. And I guess this, in a way, is probably good for the 76ers eventually as well. I feel bad for Jimmy Butler. I feel bad for the Heat. Like, their whole we don't rebuild, we retool. Like, who needs first round draft picks? Not the Miami Heat. And I guess in the end, it'll be Jimmy Butler will be one of those guys where we really remember him at the time, you know, but in 10, 15, 20 years from now, no championship, no MVP, didn't make All NBA that many. I think he only made All NBA twice because he just doesn't play that, like, he plays a different style of basketball in the regular season. I'm very curious what Spoelstra does with the starting lineup. Like, does he put Jaime Jaquez Jr. in? Do they go super big? Do they go super small? Does Duncan Robinson start after being a DNP CD? That might be what they do, actually, because they'll just need some buckets. Like, they literally will just need someone who can put the ball in the basket, and Duncan can do that. I don't know, man. Spoelstra, I'll be very curious to see what Spoelstra does against the Bulls. That will be a very interesting game plan.
Let's play this out too, Davis. You get to Friday morning, right? And you see that update coming out that says Jimmy Butler upgraded to doubtful. Jimmy Butler upgraded to questionable. He's going to give it a workout pregame because you're right. This guy is usually like a machine out here that is just built out of steel. It's like, I don't care if my leg is falling off. I'm going to play here. But also, you might get one of those things that you love to see, Davis, a form of the zombie Heat that nobody expects anything from rising to the occasion because Spoelstra puts in a ridiculous game plan and those bench warmers there get into the game and start to play. So things on the horizon don't look that great for the Miami Heat, and we'll find out on Friday. More injury news around the association, which deals with the Chicago Bulls. Guard Alex Caruso has a significant left ankle sprain, and his availability for the game against Miami's 8th seed game, that one is in doubt as well. Andre Drummond stepped on his foot, and oh well, looks like we might be down players here for both sides. Tough scene all the way around, man. Guys getting injured, it's part of the game.
Yeah, tough scene all the way around. I guess that the Heat Bulls lineup, it became just like the Heat Hawks game, where it's like, who wants to win this game? Who wants to go get in the wood chipper to go face the Boston Celtics? Like, who is just absolutely begging to go get in this brutal matchup again? I mean, whoever wins this game, the Bulls win this game, good for them. You're going to lose in 4 games. I guess if the Heat win, can the zombie Heat win 2 games against the Boston Celtics just by getting in their heads? Probably. Like, Jason Tatum is going to be like shell-shocked going up against the Miami Heat. Like, no team has made Jason Tatum more of a basket case than the Miami. Maybe that's why they traded for Porzingis. They just needed someone who has not lost a playoff game to the Miami Heat to be in their rotation and to score in that game. Man, Spoelstra, I would love to be a fly on the wall for the coaches meeting with Spoelstra and his assistants for this upcoming game, because I know he's got the whiteboard out. I know he's got his video monitor. He's like, look, guys, no, we're going to do this. We're going to come out in this defensive alignment. This is going to be our primary action on offense. It is just a chance, I guess, to win this game. It'll just be another feather in the cap of Eric Spoelstra.
A lot more shots up for grabs there for the Miami Heat. We'll see who gets them. Could Tyler Hero shoot 30 times on Friday night? Maybe he just does that. But let's also take a look at this game that will be played at 7 o'clock Eastern on Friday night. Chicago Bulls, Miami Heat. That line opened up overnight as a slight favorite towards the Miami Heat. It wasn't much to begin with, -2.5. Those numbers have now downshifted here to -1.5 based on this Jimmy Butler news, and a total that opened up at 209 overnight, now sitting at 208. Some outlets across the board showing 207.5. How does this affect it here? Is it still an automatic win for the Miami Heat, but no Jimmy Butler now? Can the Bulls pull this off and then go in to take on the Boston Celtics?
No, it's definitely not an automatic win anymore. Yeah. In fact, I would bet the Bulls might even end up favored by the time that this line closes. So let's say Rozier also does not play, so they're down Rozier and they're down Butler. I bet the Bulls end up like 1.5 point favorites, very slight favorites on the money line. That would be my estimation. Now, I would definitely bet Miami, even without Butler, at these prices at like 1 point or whatever, because even without Jimmy, the Miami Heat are the better coach team. I actually think they are still probably the better roster. Like we didn't talk too much about Bam in that 76ers game because Bam was going to be erased in that game. Like he was not going to score against Embiid. His primary job out there was to just play as much defense on Embiid as he could. It'll be much different against Vucevic and the Bulls, because you can just score on Vooch. Like Bam might take 18 shots in this game. In fact, I think that might even be their plan. Like who on that Bulls roster, especially if Caruso does not play, and you're going with your 45 minutes of Ayo DeSumo, Javonte Green, I guess would start if Caruso was out. I mean, no one's really getting in the way of the Hero Bam 2-man game. Duncan Robinson makes 5 3-pointers, and all of a sudden you're talking about like a Heat blowout victory, which maybe. I don't know. What a weird game. Like two Walking Dead teams. The Heat are super banged up. The Bulls are very banged up. And what do you get when you win? You get to go play the best team in the NBA.
Tough scene out here because we like to talk about good information moving through with players coming back, and it's seeming like we're talking about more injuries. And here's one of those that was tweeted out yesterday with another Woj bomb. Pelicans forward Zion Williamson, left hamstring, is out for Friday's play in tournament. He's going to be evaluated in the coming weeks, which could mean they're not playing basketball anymore, and into the offseason the Pelicans go. A guy that was so dominant against the Lakers, shining in the right moment here, gets injured. Tough loss there, of course, for the Pelicans here, Davis.
Very tough loss. I feel, Zion is going to be. We will ultimately remember Zion for what never happened, right? We will remember Zion at Duke, this crazy athlete. His highlights looked ridiculous. He was supposed to be. He was supposed to be a center. That was supposed to be what Zion became. He was supposed to be a center who could defend the rim, who could put the ball. He was going to be a point center. And it never really happened because he kept getting injured. He was not in good enough shape. And he never became the defensive player that he wanted to be. And you can see how that really limited New Orleans roster construction over the years. Like the fact that their centers are Jonas Valanciunas and Larry Nance Jr. means that, even in their heart of hearts, I think the Pelicans front office, Brian Griffin and those guys, they also thought that Zion Williamson was going to be able to become a center, and it never worked out there. So you have a weird roster with two bad defensive players in Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum and Zion Williamson, with some really, really good defenders. You have Herb Jones, who is maybe the best wing defender in the entire NBA. Valanciunas actually is a fine defensive player as well, just doesn't really fit next to Zion because neither of them really shoot three-pointers. Zion was also supposed to be able to eventually have the skill set to learn to shoot three-pointers, and then he stopped doing that as well. Whatever ends up happening in this secondary playoff game, like, okay, you beat the Kings. I guess maybe a zombie Pelican series against Oklahoma City Maybe that is kind of fun. You've got the more wily veteran team with the Pelicans. You've got Herb Jones guarding Jalen Williams. You've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just basically doing whatever he wants with CJ McCollum at the point of attack. I mean, certainly as a Thunder fan, I don't mind that Zion is out of this game. I actually would be rooting for the Pelicans in this game. I would rather the Thunder get to go up against the Zionless Pelicans team. The Kings, I'm not afraid of the Kings, but the Kings roster as currently constructed, I think is probably better right now.
Take a look at some lines on the move. We talked about the Heat going from 2.5-point favorites to 1.5. We'll see where that line ends up. Also, with the injury information to the Pelicans, they opened up, Davis. Minus 2.5-point favorite on the overnight lines here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now they're not even favorites anymore. This line has completely shifted over to the Sacramento Kings, who are a minus 1.5-point favorite. Do you agree with that line move? Should the Kings be the favorite in that ball game?
Yeah, they definitely should be. I don't know if I would bet them. I would need to see who starts for Zion. I want them to just start Trey Murphy III, because Trey Murphy III is one of the best players in the NBA that absolutely no one mentions. Like, if Trey Murphy was on the Lakers, he would be more popular and make more money than Austin Reeves. He's just straight up better than Austin Reeves. And no one even knows that this guy coming off the bench for the Pelicans even exists.
No NBA action tonight, but we got a doubleheader set for you tomorrow. First game up 7 p.m. Eastern. That's the Bulls and the Heat. Second game up 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That's the Kings and the Pelicans.